One of the most common questions that goes around in voice acting circles and anything to do with voiceover is, do I need a Studio Bricks or a Whisper Room, any kind of voice isolation booth to get high quality audio? The short answer is no, and the long answer is also no, but with a few more details. So a Studio Bricks or a Whisper Room, these are what are called voice isolation booths. They are specifically designed to cut out background noise from your recording environment. But what people also think they do, which they don't, people think that they are basically perfect. You go in there and you sound perfect, and nothing is needed on top of that. And what I noticed is that some people who had these voice isolation booths, they actually didn't sound that good. And the reason they didn't sound that good is because there was a lot of boxy resonance based on the fact that they got this booth and did not apply any additional treatment to it. Unfortunately, you need to add acoustic treatment to these kinds of voice isolation booths, and for that money, I just think it's ridiculous. Now, the good news is, if you live in a quiet neighborhood or you live in the countryside, you definitely don't need one of these booths, and you're probably more likely to damage your sound than actually fix it if you don't need to reduce the amount of noise in your environment. But if you do live in a city or a loud neighborhood, or you have a very big family and there's a lot of noise, then something like that is probably necessary. Maybe not totally necessary. Obviously, it depends on your circumstances, because if you, for example, have children and they're at school all day, then I guess that's not a problem. But if you have to record in the evening or you have to record on the weekend, then that does become a problem, because they may be noisy, they may be playing, they may have friends over. So that's one of the things that you need to keep in mind. So if you're planning, should we say, a space, think about what kind of noise is going to affect you throughout the day. The good news is, if your environment is not too loud, you can definitely get away with not using any acoustic isolation, because thick acoustic panels will provide some level of passive isolation. It's not total isolation, but it will help a little. My booth is completely DIY, and it certainly costs less than €1,000 to put everything together in terms of material costs. I've got a giant panel behind me, which is made of rock wool and wood. I've got some other rock wool panels to my left and right. I've got some foam here. It's a bit ugly, but it sounds good. And I've got acoustic blankets from Vocal Booth to go. And this gives me the sound that you hear right now. And it's definitely good enough for all of the work that I've done. And I've done some good work. I've done some high-end work. So it's definitely good enough. And it wasn't expensive. Now, €1,000 to anyone starting any venture is probably quite expensive anyway, but if it makes you that money back, then overall it's not really a problem. And it's certainly much cheaper than splurging on one of these isolation booths like a Whisper Room or a Studio Brick. So, long story short, you definitely don't need a voice isolation booth unless you live in a really loud environment.